Ever wonder what it would be like to punch yourself in the genitalia on repeat? This is Guardian Druid Mage Tower. I am Sixy, and today we will be going over our Guardian Druid Mage Tower run. I will go a step-by-step playthrough for you, show you guys exactly what buttons I pushed, so that you too can get your Fel Bear mount. I think it is a great-looking transmog, and honestly, it was my 8th after I got my mount, my Spell Tome mount. This is the one I put a ton of time into getting. I thought it looks really great, and I really wanted it. So I'm sure you guys do as well. Let's dive into the talents that we used. So I used Bramble, Renewal, Balance Affinity, Heart of the Wild, Galactic Guardian, Survival of the Fittest, and Tooth and Claw. I get a lot of shit for this Renewal versus Wild Charge. Personally, I am not a big fan of Wild Charge. I think the number of times that it would actually come in handy were pretty limited. As if it knocks you back past a certain point, you can't charge back onto the platform, so you had to have a really quick reaction time with it, and ultimately it was probably better just to dodge the knockbacks. Galactic Guardian I was using specifically to increase my DPS, which was the same for Tooth and Claw. Now, if I were to go back and do this again, I would probably switch to Pulverize, as I just wasn't getting that much damage out of Tooth and Claw. Personally, just wasn't that great of a talent. In phase 1, it was doing next to no damage, and in phase 2, it did something like 2% of my total damage, Maul did. And that's whether or not it was empowered or not. So personally, probably go with Pulverize. I think it's a much better talent choice, and we'll go over the applications of it while we go through the video. Survival of the Fittest is almost mandatory, as it gets your bark skin down to a cooldown, which almost lines up perfectly with the arcane adds. So make sure you're using this. It really works well in conjunction with Brambles to get the little ads dead while committing very little resources to them. All right. And then for my gear, we basically used a complete Shadowlands set. We did farm out 2 specific trinkets. This is a trinket from Hellfire Citadel off the 7th boss. It's an intellect trinket. It can drop for anybody, because back then there wasn't personal loot. So I definitely would recommend trying to get this if you can. And this Ravaged Seed Pod is found in Emerald Nightmare off of the first boss. It's very quick to farm, or try to farm. Definitely try to get some bonus rolls so you can get this Ravaged Seed Pod. It works out really well for killing some of the arcane ads. This pool does a ton of damage and really helps out with the arcane ads. So highly recommend getting these if you can. Now let's go over consumables and dive into the video. For this run, I mostly use Shadowlands consumables. For my food buff, I used Tenebrous Crown Roast Aspic, which is a haste buff. I used the regular Shadowlands Spectral Flask of Power. We used Heavy Desolate Armor Kits for our stamina buff, and we used Shadow Core Oil to augment our weapons. For the final phase, we're just going to use regular Drums of Deathly Ferocity, and once we reach the second phase, we'll use a Veiled Augment Rune. These are really expensive on my server, so I did not commit them unless I was in a run where I thought I might have a potential kill. There's 2 potions you'll notice here that are a little different. This is the Potion of Prolonged Power, which increases all stats and for 1 minute, and this is the Potion of Unbridled Fury. The Potion of Unbridled Fury does a ton of DPS. However, it's going for about 400 to 500 gold on my server. So again, I don't commit these unless I think I have a kill attempt in my sights. Now, one thing I want you to notice up here in the corner is that I actually popped a Potion of Prolonged Power prior to entering the instance. By the time the loading screen and the RP goes off, I have about 20 seconds of uptime on this increased stats for my character. This will help me with my DPS, as my overall goal at the beginning is to kill Variss before the second Inferno comes out. Now, the last consumable I want to go over is our Goblin Glider Kits. If you accidentally get hit by one of the Infernal Smashes, they are imperative for you to get back onto the platform. However, they're on a 3-minute cooldown, so you basically only get 1 per fight, because you want to save it for the second section. And right here, we're just getting to the 3 minutes. The fight's not going to last but another minute or 2. So having it available to you in the second phase is super important. On this run, I didn't actually end up needing my Goblin Glider Kit, but that boiled down to this event here where I got really lucky. But keep in mind to have it available to you and to be very quick with it so that you can get back onto the platform in case you get hit by the smash. All right, let's dive into this video. The first thing we're going to do is press Heart of the Wild to increase our DPS, as we have quite a bit of time at the beginning to DPS Variss without any additional interruptions. We're trying to get as much DPS in before the first set of ads comes out, as it's going to hinder our ability to just free cast. So after we press Heart of the Wild, we're going to immediately cast Star Surge, and then I Sunfire. Now, whether this is the optimal DPS rotation, I have no idea. This is just what I had been doing. The first thing I'm going to do is empower our Starfire. So I'm going to cast 2 Wraths and then immediately go into my Starfire. And then when the eyeball comes up, we are going to Moonfire it once. Now, usually a single Moonfire will take care of these ads. I probably didn't need to waste the global here because the Tormenting Eye is actually in front of me. I can easily face it while continuing to do my DPS cast, but I was finding that I was letting my Tormenting Eyes build up, and then I would get pushed off if I didn't look at them off the platform and would end my run. So I just decided to kill them every single time. So then we're going to keep DPSing with our empowered Starfire and our empowered Moonfires. This is our talent choice, the Celestial Garden. And then our first Drain Life comes out. Now you have one of 2 options to deal with this first Drain Life. You can either Typhoon it, so you can keep casting, or you can get into bear form and kick it. Now, for me, since the ads were already out, I decided that I was just going to get into bear form and kick it. Now, sometimes he casts Drain Life before the ads come out. I recommend just Typhooning that and getting in some more globals on DPS. So we kick our first Drain Life, and then we use our Pod Trinket that we had farmed to kill our first set of Nether Horrors. It's super important that we do not use our Bark Skin here. Now, we would normally use Bark Skin in conjunction with our Brambles talent, so that when these guys melee attack us, they basically kill themselves attacking us. However, because I was casting Pod first and I wasn't getting Bark Skin up prior to them running in, Bark Skin would not be up for my second set of ads, and these ads are all going to die in this pod anyways. So we're not worried too much about it. We're going to Incapacitating Roar this set of Nether Storms, and then they'll die off in the pod afterwards. Incapacitating Roar will always be up for Nether Storm, except for one example, and we'll go over that when it happens in a little bit later in the fight. This pod will pretty much clean up these ads, so then we get out. We're at 5 stacks. We're gonna kill this Tormenting Eye and get some more DPS in on the boss. You might be wondering why I used this orb right away. In general, this orb is gonna go to waste either way. So I was using it for a DPS gain. I usually wanted to have my Wraith empowered before I used it, but I was a little bit antsy there and we used it a little early. But that's all right. So we missed our Typhoon there. So we had to get into bear form and kick that, which ultimately ends up costing me, which is why I end up with 2 Infernals, because we wasted a lot of globals here. I'm not going to be able to get a clean... I normally get a clean DPS phase here with just this Infernal up, where I get a lot of work done on Variss, but we messed it up, so we're now stuck in this position where we need to jump into bear form. We got the kick in, and we're just going to sit here and wait till the ads come in. Now, with this one, we want... For the first set of ads, we did not use our... Bark Skin, and this is important because if you use it too late, you won't have it up necessarily for this set. If you're not using the pod and you're not doing any weird tricks, you should just use it every single time right as they're starting to come out. It lasts for 10 seconds or more, so you'll get all the damage in and it'll be up again for the next set. But if you use it late, it will not be up again for the next set. So I Brambles here. This gives us additional Brambles damage. We get the Incapacitating Roar. We get some defensives in, and we get some damage on the boss. Now, keep in mind that our stacks here, once you get to about 6 on a Bear Druid, the damage gets pretty hefty and starts to become a problem. So I'm going to go and get this next thing, because what I want to do is get another DPS phase in with this. But I was having a lot of problems with the Tormenting Eyes, so I've been pretty on top of killing them. All these wasted globals on these eyes, though, ultimately also is what cost me from keeping my Infernals down to a single Infernal at the end. Right here on this set, if you're at about 16%, you can avoid the second Infernal. So your goal is roughly, if you have this exact gear setup that I'm running, and you have the exact shit that I'm using, 16% is what you're aiming for. Once you come in with this pod with 16%, you'll kill him, right, and the ads all at the same time, and you get a clean transition phase into Krull. But I'm at 36, so I recognize that I'm going to be here for at least 2 Infernals. So I immediately go into a rotation where I'm planning for 2 Infernals. So I get my pod down. This will kill all this. We get the Incapacitating Roar, and we start cleaning up these ads so that we don't get accidentally knocked back instead of going into another DPS round here. If he was slightly lower, I would have gone in. I would have either stayed in past 5 stacks to finish the kill, or I would have gone into another Boomkin DPS rotation. Now, it's also super important, we do not use Incarn during this phase. This phase does not last more than 3 minutes. With this, I think it lasts roughly 2 minutes is when I transition. It's super important that we have Incarn up, and we'll go over why we need Incarn in a little bit. So we're just going to dodge and clean and play safe. We got a fresh restack here, so we're going to stay in and do a little DPS. And this is why I was using Empowered Maul, was for this exact moment, was to get some additional damage in. But like I said, ultimately, I didn't really feel like it was doing that much work. I would definitely go with Pulverize. You're probably not going to use Pulverize in the first phase, but it will really help out in the second phase. All right, so we're going to finish up this. We're going to keep cleaning up ads. We're going to keep cleaning up... don't be afraid to kill these Infernals. So you'll see me, or at least on some of my attempts, I spent time actually killing them so that I could have a lot easier of a time transitioning. So now that both Infernals are dead, this is a great time to transition the boss. You don't have to worry about the eye. All the eyes go away. Now that we've transitioned the boss, we really want to start focusing on our defensive rotation. However, I want to take a second to point out that if you transition the boss with the nether ads up, so the nether horrors, what will happen is you will need an incapacitating roar to stop their cast, and then another set will be summoned before your incapacitating roar comes up again. I highly recommend stopping DPS on Variss if you're about to get another set of nether horrors. Clean up your nether horrors and then transition into Krull, so that way you don't have to waste an orb trying to stop the nether horror cast. You really want to save your orbs as much as possible to top yourself off before Annihilate. Now that Krull's out, let's jump into our plan for how we're going to manage all of Krull's mechanics. Unfortunately, I transitioned into this phase with very little health. I would have liked to have saved this first orb, but unfortunately I have no stacks of Frenzied Regeneration getting through the last phase. Even though the first Annihilate does next to no damage, I do need at least about 5,000 health, and I'm definitely below that. So I make the decision to use an orb to live the first Annihilate. As soon as he's done with this daze, he's going to cast that ability, and now that my health is topped up, I can basically take care of it with one Iron Fur. So I use my Empowered Maul, and then I get a single stack of Iron Fur, and as you see, it did like 3,000 damage with just one stack of Iron Fur. He always casts Twisted Reflection shortly after his first and third Annihilate, so keep that in mind that you'll need to kick straight away after that. If it is missed, you get a debuff, and every time he attacks you, he heals. If you get the debuff, try to push him away, fear him, whatever you can do, and get an orb. It'll clear your stack of the debuff so that he doesn't heal. I'm not sure if this is a kill attempt because I have 2 Infernals up, so I haven't committed my drums or my pots or any of my other stuff till just now. I decided at 28%, I'm like, fuck it, let's go for a kill attempt. So I use my Unbridled Fury, I use my drums, and then I'm going to pop an Augment Rune here as well. So we ended up getting a clean kick there, and then we're going to bait out the green stuff, and now we have to worry about these the nether horrors. They're going to always rush off towards Velen. So this is the trickiest part of the whole fight, okay? We're always going to be in this position. We're going to be in a spot where, like, we're getting pushed around by these beams. We have the slow on us, and these guys are racing off. If they get their cast off even one tick on Velen, he dies, and the fight is over. So we have to get back to Velen. So we use our Stampeding Roar to get back to these ads, and basically it's taken us so long to get here. We're gonna almost have to immediately cast our Fear. But I get really lucky, and my Infernals were basically stacked in the middle here. This is ultimately what won me the fight. This exact event right here won me this fight. This was so clutch. Getting this pool underneath the Infernals, the ads, and then eventually Krull got so much damage onto these Infernals and onto the ads that, like, I'm now in a great spot. These Infernals are going to die inside of this pool. So I now have a clean phase going into my second Annihilate. So I didn't need to use my Survival Instincts here, which is a massive reduction in damage. I was able to just Iron Fur it plus Bark Skin it to get here. Actually, I may not even Bark Skinned. I was just in really great shape before this Annihilate. So I'm at almost max health. The second one does about 8 to 9k damage. So we need to just be above this threshold here. And so I got two stacks of Iron Fur, and I knew this Annihilate was going to be fine. That second stack dropped this into the range where it only did about 6k, it looks like. This is great. Not having to commit a survival instincts here and not even needing bark skin. Fucking... That's Primavera stuff right there. So the last Infernal dies, and now we can literally just focus on DPS and keeping ourselves alive. So the next set of Arcane Orbs or Arcane Ads are coming out right now. This is where we want to have the Incarn for. And it's not called Incarn because it's on. I don't have the talent for it, but you guys know what I mean. So we're going to use this to keep our health pool up because it's also going to change the cooldown rate of our Frenzied Regeneration here. So we're going to get in, we're going to pop it, and then we're going to use Thrash to get a ton of damage on this, get the Incapacitating Roar, and then we're going to start feeding our health pool up. Because what we want to do here is be pretty much maxed out. So this was the Annihilate countdown that was coming in. I popped that orb to get our health topped off, because what we're going to do is go get Annihilated right now as soon as he's done with this. So here we're going to commit our first Survival Instincts, all right? Make sure you wait till he's already casting it. It only lasts 6 seconds, so if you cast it too early, if you cast it right before the orb because you thought it was coming, you're gonna lose it before he gets his cast off. So if you're going to use my version of events, orb when the countdown's coming, when he comes out of it, he's gonna Annihilate. That's when you pop your defensive. All right. We only need to commit 1 Survival Instincts for it. I have Bark Skin, but we're saving Bark Skin and our second Survival Instincts for the 4th one. You can survive the 4th one with Bark Skin and Survival Instincts. If you have Pulverize and you pulverize Bark Skin and Survival Instincts, take 0 damage. You can actually survive a 5th one. Now, I'm in great shape. My DPS is blasting. I got really good orbs and stuff like that. I look over and see his health here, and I realize I can just win this. So I pop my last orb here that just spawned. I should have saved this if I was at like 8 or 10% here. You definitely want to save this orb. All right. But I recognized that I had the boss kill, so I took the orb and said, I'm just gonna finish it off with my Maul and my empowered Moonfire here. So that's it. That's the fight. For me, what this ultimately boiled down to was recognizing that I needed to use an orb right before Annihilate, and then using a defensive shortly thereafter, and then using the right defensives in the right order so that they would be up for the correct Annihilate. Now, I got really lucky. My DPS was huge on this one. You can see at the end here, I'm doing almost 1,000 DPS, which is insane. Normally, I'm doing something closer to 700 or 800. So this was a really, really lucky kill, but I definitely could have survived into a 4th Annihilate, and maybe with some different talent choices, even a 5th. But yeah, that's the fight. So hopefully you found this helpful. Hopefully this will help you guys get your kill so that you can get your Fel Bear. I really enjoyed this fight. I think that the tank one is a lot of fun. Personally, I enjoy the fact that if you're going to have a Scuffs run, you basically find out right at the beginning. Once you get to Krull, it just basically boils down to figuring out the pattern and keeping Velen alive. Yeah, so if you found this video helpful, please consider dropping it a like, subscribing to the channel. I'm going to have some more videos out there if you're trying to get your Spell Tome. I will be putting out the videos for the remaining challenges in the upcoming days. And hopefully those will be useful to you guys for getting your Spell Tome. Have a good day. Peace.